Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amrulfalah bin Amin. I'll be presenting on impact of a jet. Introduction of the experiment. A moving fluid may exert forces on objects in contact with it. To analyze fluid motion, a control volume is usually selected, and the gross effects of the flow, such as its force, is determined by calculating the net mass rate that flows into and out of the control volume. The force exerted by a jet of fluid on a flat or curved surface can be resolved by applying the momentum equation. The objectives of the experiment. Firstly, to investigate the reaction forces produced by the change in momentum of a fluid flow when a jet of water strikes a flat plate or a curved surface. Secondly, to compare the results from this experiment with the computed forces by applying the momentum equation. Moving on to the methodology of the experiment. Firstly, the top plate is removed. Then, transparent cylinder is also removed from the equipment. Next, the exit diameter of the nozzle is checked and recorded. Thirdly, the cylinder is replaced and the 90-degree deflector is screwed onto the end of the shaft. Then, the inlet tube is connected to the quick release connector on the bench. The top plate on the transparent cylinder is replaced, but the 3 knurled nuts is ensured not to be tightened. Using the spirit level attached to the top plate, the cylinder is leveled by adjusting the feet. Then, the 3 knurled nuts are replaced, then tightened in sequence until the built-in circular spirit level indicates that the top plate is horizontal. The nuts are tightened just enough to level the plate. They must not be over-tightened, as this will damage the top plate. The vertical shaft is ensured to be free to move and is supported by the spring beneath the weight pen. With no weights on the weight pen, the height of the level gauge is adjusted until it aligns with the datum line on the weight pen. The position is checked to be correct by gently oscillating the pen. A mass of 50 grams is placed on the weight pen and the pump is turned on. Then, the bench valve is opened slowly, and water is allowed to impinge upon the target until the datum line on the weight pen is level with the gauge. The flow is left constant. The flow behavior during the test is observed and noted. The flow rate is measured using the volumetric tank. This is achieved by having the ball valve closed and the time that it takes to accumulate a known volume of fluid in the tank measured from the sight glass. Water is collected for at least a minute to minimize timing errors. This procedure is repeated by adding an additional 50 grams incrementally until a maximum mass of 500 grams has been applied. Finally, the entire test is repeated for each of the other 2 flow deflectors. So this is the setup of the experiment. Results and calculations. Velocity of the water leaving the nozzle with cross-sectional area can be calculated by this equation. Applying the energy equation between the nozzle exit point and surface of the deflector shows that the magnitude of flow velocity does not change as the water flows around the deflector. Instead, only direction of flow changes. Applying momentum equation to a control volume encompassing the deflected flow results in this equation. From equilibrium of forces in a vertical direction, Fy is balanced by the applied weight on the weight pen, hence this equation. Since Q equals to VA, this equation can be written as W equals to rho AV square cos theta plus 1. So this is the raw data table. Dimensions of the nozzle. Its diameter has to be 0.008 meter. Its cross-sectional area 5.0265 times 10 to the power negative 5 meter square. For each set of measurements, the applied weight, flow rate, velocity squared, force, theoretical and experimental slope of the relationship between W and V square are calculated. The theoretical slope is determined from this equation. The experimental value of S is obtained from a graph of W plotted against V square. So this is the result table. Discussion. Some measured jet forces are higher than the computed ones. This might occur due to errors in taking the reading when recording the time and losses in the experiment apparatus. These losses were used in calculating the experiment efficiency for the flat and hemispherical deflectors. In conclusion, the objectives of the experiment have been achieved. The forces produced on both flat plate and curved surface are proportional to the momentum flow in the jet as water strikes the plates. The forces produced when a jet of water strikes a curved surface are higher than that of the flat plate. The jet forces obtained from this experiment are larger than the computed forces, as errors are taken into account. That is all from me. Thank you very much.